All right, welcome everybody to the FAAB podcast. Today I have Jay Miller from Kyber Digital, and I'm really excited to have you here because we are going to take a deep dive into offer building, both for your agency and for your agency clients. And we're also going to talk about sales, two really, really big and important things in the agency world. And you've had a lot of success on your end. In offer building and sales both. So I think you'd be a really good person to spread some knowledge on the podcast. So welcome.
Yeah, I'm super stoked to be here. I love everything you're doing, and I love being able to get back to the community you've built. So thanks for having me.
Absolutely. All right, so we'll just dive right into the episode, guys. So as agencies, we're constantly building and testing offers for our clients and for ourselves. Can you help us break down what that offer building process looks like, both for an agency and then for an agency's clients as well?
Well, it's pretty much the same thing for both, right? And just as a quick snippet of information for those that don't know, an offer is a difference between what you're actually bringing to the market versus your products. So when we say offer, we don't mean like, hey, get 10% off of this. Like that is an offer, but it's not your core offer from the company. That's a discount, right? So when we say offer, we really mean what is your pitch? What is your unique selling proposition? What's your unique mechanism?
What's the value that you're bringing to that client?
Exactly. So for the industry we work in with contractors, a lot of the times it's very much tax or financial driven, but it's also upgrades on installs, but it's always somehow associated with saving the prospect time and money somehow. And the way that we do that is really, really boring. Actually, we go back to your original prospect examination. So the first thing you do is you break down the emotional feelings of all of your customers, which every single company thinks, oh, I know my customers inside and out. Well, you might, but if you've written it down on paper and done the exercise, I guarantee you that you'll find things inside of that exercise that you probably didn't think of before. If you ask your clients, how did you feel before and after we did this job? How did you feel before or after you worked with us? What were the objections you thought you would reach? What were some of your apprehensions about the project? Like, no matter what it is, doesn't matter what industry it is, you'll get a lot of responses that are what we call golden copy, because you're then using their words back to them with your marketing messages and inside of your ads, your website, your email marketing. You're taking the same verbiage and using it right back to them. My biggest fan of this was Omar Johnson from Beats. That's exactly what they did on the Hear What You Want campaign. They basically asked tons of listeners of Beats headphones. And this is a company that's enterprise level that knows their customers, but they went and they did the market research anyway and crafted an amazing campaign around Hear What You Want, which was it was a great campaign. Even the news stations were talking about the commercials they filmed because it just spoke to the customers. It's so well done. So really that's where you start, is the emotional drive behind how to build up your offer. How is it going to be emotionally compelling to the person on the other end? So it's really emotional driven. That's where
how do you get that information from the prospect?
You can either ask your current clients. You can use software tools like NetBase or Netline. It's one of those two for sentiment tracking across the internet. There's all kinds of conversations that those softwares can pull in from various sources to see how customers feel about certain topics. And then you can also do a thought exercise, which we have a guide that we use that helps break down that first stage process. It's the first thing we put every client through that we sign. And it's just a thought exercise. It's like, hey, like how is your USP and product different from your competitors? What is your ideal client? How does your ideal client feel prior to them coming to you? Have they done work in this before? Is this something new? Are you going after a repeat customer with your campaigns? And it allows you to understand the emotional reasoning behind the decision making. So that's how we start. We just go back to the basics and say, this is our client. How do they feel? Go through the thought exercise. If we don't get enough from that initially, then we just go and ask the current clients we have, which you shouldn't be afraid of doing. I do it all the time. I'll ask like some of my older clients, why'd you sign up with us? What made you make that decision? How did you feel before you made that decision? How do you feel now? What was like the one biggest thing that you learned from working with us that you didn't know before? How has your idea of marketing changed since working with us? Like all of that type of inquiry really gives you the responses you need to create that golden copy, so that when you do a VSL, you're speaking directly to, I'd say probably 80% of the prospects you're going after. So people would see it. So I say it's boring because it's not a lot of fun to come up with and do the exercise, but it's where all the golden copy truly exists. That's where it all lies.
Market research is boring, but it's highly effective when it's used. I know we're going to talk about sales in just a little bit, but this also reflects directly into the sales process as well, because when you're in that call number one, right, and you're getting to know the prospect and you're going through the discovery process, these are the things that you're asking. You're literally asking them about their pain. Why are they there? You're getting to know exactly what they're experiencing. And all these same golden nuggets come out in that call, where you should have a pen and paper, or at least notes in front of you, so that you can be copying down the exact, situation that they're going through and the pain.
You don't want to assume either. You never want to assume, because like, even in the conversation we've had when we ask these questions, sometimes we get really interesting responses we didn't anticipate. So you never want to assume, and you always want to do the market research.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can also, it's specific to the business too. Like, even once you kind of find a trend, I think within your niche or your industry of specific pain points that commonly occur, you're right. You don't want to assume. You still want to ask, because what this specific contractor or that specific contractor in your industry, the drive that they have for wanting to succeed can be completely different when it's emotional based. One wants to take care of their family. One is a single guy who wants to, get a bigger house or whatever it is, but they can be two different ideas of what's driving.
I mean, this is perfect for e-commerce too. Works exactly the same with e-commerce clients. Exactly the same. Yeah.
Absolutely. So it's good from a broad perspective in creating your offer, which is what we're on, but it's also really good in your sales process. Because that's what's going to land you a deal, is connecting to that specific pain point of that prospect, and not just assuming that, oh, they just want to make more money. Like, yeah, they probably do want to make more money, but like, why do they want to make more money?
The why is the important part.
100%. Right. So, and if you can connect with that why and say, when you're delivering your pitch and say, okay, we feel really confident we can get you to X and get you to, enable you to buy that next warehouse so that you can expand your operations, right? Not just so that we can get you to, 50 grand a month, like 50 grand a month so that you can get that next warehouse so that you can expand your business operations, right? And when you dig a little bit deeper and you find that out, that helps you land a lot more deals, in addition to crafting better offers, right?
Yeah. Also, as a really quick side note, I couldn't help it because I'm such a Star Wars nerd, hence the name of my company too. The Grogu, or the Baby Yoda in the background.
Yes, I love that you knew both names even.
Yeah.
Love it.
I'm a Star Wars nerd through and through. So
that took months to get to me because the demand was so high last Christmas, but it's so worth it. Like, I got to keep him in the background at all times. Love it. Awesome. For those of you guys that are listening on the podcast instead of watching the video, which I put the full recordings in the FAAB group. So if you're not in the FAAB group, definitely join. There'll be a link in the show notes over to the group so you can watch the full video. But I got a Baby Yoda behind me, and he's definitely holding down the spot well. All right, so let's talk about creating an offer for your clients. You sign on a new Facebook ads or Google ads client, and they're new to digital marketing. How do you create an offer for them that's going to convert?
Well, I'm doing it right now, actually, with a Windows company. So I can tell you what we're doing for them in real time.
Absolutely.
So they're out of California. They were working with Home Depot as a sponsored provider for leads. Like, they got in really, really early, like 15 years ago with Home Depot as a vetted contractor. So they've kind of relied solely on partnerships to get all their leads. So they don't exist online whatsoever. Never had a website, completely starting from scratch.
So much opportunity.
Yeah, right. So it's almost like for marketers, that's like a clean slate. It's like a perfect opportunity. But so instead of running them directly into ads, we instead said, all right, we're going to build out all the back end first. and that's a 90-day campaign for us, and then it's over. Let's just build out everything. So that includes their offer, that includes their unique selling proposition. So when we go to create the offer, we're doing the same thing we just discussed, finding out what the prospects actually feel, what they want, what the needs are, what the actual needs of the product are. And then we go and we try to create a unique selling mechanism. So when we use the term unique selling mechanism, it's the same thing as unique selling proposition. It's whatever differentiates you from the rest. And giving someone a discount or giving someone financing options, maybe 10 years ago, that used to be a unique selling proposition. It's no longer that. And now it's expected. Now it's norm. Now it's expected of those contractors. So instead, what we try to do is we try to find out what their process is that's different. And we'll ask them, what are you guys doing that's different? And everything when they first tell us is always, oh, well, we have the best customer service. We have the fastest turnaround. It's always the same 5 or 6 answers. And I go, okay, that's what everyone else says. Like, now you need to go deeper. Like, how are you delivering a better experience to your customers? Like, go beyond just your initial process of the customer's buyer journey. What are you doing with the product that's different? And they might, at one point, through me asking a ton of questions, dig out of them, oh, we actually put a second double layer of this underneath the windows. We put a second windshield, and we put a secondary, we put shatterproof glass in every install, even though it's more expensive. We do this for everything because we do a lot of work in storms and it's debris safe. Whatever they're doing, then eventually we get to that point where it's like, that's one unique selling point. It's like, okay, that's one. We're going to try and merge a whole bunch of these things together and piece together from multiple angles what we're doing different, so that we package it into a unique selling proposition. It's really hard in commoditized industries to come up with a unique mechanism unless they have a unique piece of software or hardware that allows them to do the job. It's basically proprietary to them. So instead, you need to piece together other things that already exist and merge them into a unique product, a unique bundle, if you will, that helps get that out to the customers, so that they say, okay, this is new. They're also doing this, 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 and this. It's a separate product. Maybe it includes a full windows and doors inspection, right? Maybe it includes like a whole house inspection with their temperature being regulated before and after. Like, they give a temperature rating and energy efficiency rating of those new windows before and after, how much they're going to save. And they do it to the house, so it's not generic. They'll maybe map out the blueprints of the house, and they'll say, now we have an idea how much money you're actually going to save based on your electric bill. That's going above and beyond. But that's a really cool, unique selling mechanism, because then the homeowner knows exactly how much money they're going to save and exactly where the break-even points are between installing an upgrade on Windows versus what it's going to pay for itself in the energy savings. That is a financial decision that's then emotionally driven, because they have an incentive to make the decision for themselves based off of the data you're now giving them. So that's an idea that we're playing around with right now, but that's just one example, right? It's trying to go and create a unique product with what you already have before you go and invent something new, by pulling in pieces of it. So that's where you start. And another weird example, we had a whale watching program in Cape May County that was like, how are we going to come up with a unique mechanism for a whale watching program? It was like a one-off that we did. But essentially, we asked them the same question. We said, what are you doing different than the other guys? Like, how is your experience slightly different than what your competitors are already doing? So to give an example of how we approach that, I'm going to use Mad Men, right? One of the very first seasons of Mad Men, Don Draper is inside the advertising room, and he's working with a cigarette company. And he says, they're talking about how they sun roll the cigarettes or something with like sun drying the cigarette tobacco. And the guy goes, well, everybody sun dries their tobacco. And he goes, yeah, but no one's talking about it. Even if it's a process that everyone does, no one's talking about it. Therefore, we can use this as the pitch for this particular campaign. Your tobacco is sun dried, right? And then they packaged it with a whole new idea of creative. And they packaged it with a whole new offer itself. The whole new pitch was different. Now it was at a different price. Now it had a discount. Now they had a reason for the discount. And the whole campaign's based around the cigarettes trying to be healthier at the time. Now they're sun dried. It was just an idea that allowed them to to push a unique mechanism that was a little bit different. In fact, it was actually more of a big marketing idea than it was a unique selling point. But the idea here is that we're pulling together different ideas from different pieces together to create something unique. This is what we do for commoditized industries like windows, doors, roofing, HVAC, like, you know, even e-com. If you have like something that's really basic that you're selling, it's the same idea. Like if you're selling a hairbrush, well, throw in something else that makes it unique. Throw in a guide of how to use the hairbrush. Throw in some tutorial examples. Throw in like a quiz on how you can use it. Whatever you're doing to make the customer's experience better, that's what you have to do to differentiate yourself from the market. So that was kind of a long-winded answer, but I wanted to kind of give the I guess the mental breakdown of how you go about doing it with a couple different examples, because it could be different for everybody.
I think another thing that I've seen work really well is when you're doing a lot of the similar stuff. So at least in agency outreach, giving your process a name, and like actually like creating like a product, I guess creating a product around your service, or like the
productizing the service.
Yeah, the XYZ method, right? And so you're buying ads, but like you've given it a name, and you've given it, when you've given it a name, you kind of put more confidence behind it, because it's a method that your team has used, implemented, and proven time and time again, right? You're not just Facebook ad buyers. You're using this proprietary XYZ method that you developed with your team. Because at the end of the day, you really are, right? Like your team is learning as you grow your agency and learning specific processes and specific ways that they like to test things. That's always different from the next guy. When any agency goes in and does an audit of another agency, they're like, oh, you know, I would have done this different. I would have done this different. I would have done that different. And the fact of the matter is, like, they're just doing things differently, but they're all going for the same goal, right? But the systems and processes that your agency employs can be named and kind of boost it up in that sense.
So let me give you an example for ours real quick. Like, we have an enterprise level solution for some of the industrial clients. What we ended up doing there was account-based marketing, which is completely different than tiered PPC. You're going after companies selling to companies. So you do an account profile versus an ICP. That's the second stage. So what we ended up doing was we use a lot of intent data, which is third-party data for that. So what we ended up doing was pulling the first-party data with some really advanced softwares like Kickfire, merging it with third-party data, finding 3 or 4 second-party data affiliates for our niche, and merging all 3 of those things together plus public records. And then inside of the hub we use, which is Marketo, we then lead score it. So that is a very unique emergence of things that already existed. These elements already existed.
It's a proprietary blend of data resources for sure.
Yeah. And we call that quantum audience targeting. So that's just all it really is merging first, second, third party data, public records, lead scoring based on a 30-day cycle with a degradation lead score algorithm plugged in. And then that's where our campaigns start. Now we know who to target first. But you know, that's the idea. We're just pulling different elements together in a different way, in a unique way.
Yep. And it works when you have that confidence and productize the service that you're doing. It definitely helps push sales for sure. So how do you, how do you stand out in the market more? So once you have these, proprietary systems, let's say you've named one of them, once you have kind of worked with your clients and figured out something that they're doing a little bit different than their other competitors, how do you make your client stand out in the market? How do you get that message to their customers?
Well, the easiest way is to come up with what, Todd Brown's team likes to call the big marketing ideas. It's exactly what I mentioned Omar Johnson did before. Their campaign was Hear What You Want. And I'll give you the background on that campaign. They went and they did market research. They asked a whole bunch of 5 different types of demographics. Why are you using Beats headphones? And they said, well, I like to tune out the stuff before my big meet. I like to just only hear what I want to hear. Another group of people said, I like to not get hit on at the gym or when I'm traveling. So I put them on so people think I'm listening to something because I don't want to communicate. And another guy said, I've got 5 kids. I put this on so I blank out all the noise so I can work from home and still have all that in the background, not have to worry about it. But everybody had their own use case. And they took like the top 5 generic ideas and put together a commercial. And the whole tagline behind the commercial was "Hear what you want." And that was the big marketing idea, to make it stand out. And they're using the exact market research and copy that they drove from their consumer base into that campaign. So by using the consumer's words right back at them, that's one way to stand out, because not everyone does that. Everyone focuses so much on the service. Everyone's like, oh, we do PPC, we do SEO, we do Facebook ads. Like, they don't care about that. They care about the result. They care about not even the result. They care about how they're going to feel after they get the result. That's where the true copy lies, is in the psychology. And the quicker you understand this, the better your campaigns are going to run. It's all emotional driven. You're selling to people. People buy with emotion. They don't buy with logic. They rationalize with logic, but they buy with emotional reasoning first. You have to hit both sides of the brain to make them feel great about the purchase. So when it comes to how to stand out, 1, creating a really great offer. 2, creating a unique mechanism with your services and productizing those services. And 3, ensuring that the copy speaks directly to your target audience and that you're targeting the right people. If you do those 3 basic things, your campaigns will do great. And there's always ways to improve your ad campaigns, improve your messaging, improve your landing pages, your conversion rates. But at the end of the day, if you have a really great offer and a really great unique mechanism that's based around the customer and the big ideas around how that customer feels, it'll trump any type of weaknesses your campaign may have, such as a bad landing page, such as a bad ad. As long as you're doing these 3 things, most campaigns will be somewhat successful until you really ramp them up with good practices.
Love it. All right. So how exactly do you create a unique selling proposition? Is this what we discussed earlier?
Yeah, we just went through that. Yeah.
Just like talking to the buyers and understanding what's different.
Yeah. Yeah. Piecing together the different elements is really the way to go, unless they have a proprietary piece of hardware or software.
Yeah.
That's different.
Right. It's shocking to me how many companies out there like have these amazing unique selling propositions that they've never realized was something of value to say to their to their customers to actually use in their marketing.
Yeah, I think SaaS products suffer from this a lot. Yeah. The ones that don't are the enterprise level ones that kind of have it on lock. Even like Asana, they started using gamification. Like every time you check a task off, you get a little unicorn that flies across the screen. It's like because they know that their audience likes that. They got enough feedback to know that was going to work. So it's just continuous market research.
Love it. All right, so then let's dive into sales a little bit and let's talk about your sales process. So can you explain to the audience basically what does your sales process look like? Are there multiple calls going on? What's going on during those calls? Let's break it down.
I get asked this a lot, and because we're a little bit more developed, it could go 1 or 2 different ways. If we get a referral, it's almost like by the time they get on the phone with us, they're ready to buy. But that's different. So let's talk about the cold.
Let's talk about someone that's not referred.
So during our funnel process, we focus only on education-based marketing. So everything we do when we run a campaign is about education. That's the same idea we do for the VSLs. It's the same idea for the content itself. And we're actually ramping up new education-based marketing content for the new prospects we're going after specifically. Like we went through all this market research over the last 3 months, and now we're in that creation phase. But essentially we do this for all of our clients. So when we get someone on the phone, we do most of the time a 2-call close. And I say most of the time because sometimes by the time they get to the VSL and they actually book an appointment, they're not even going to argue with the offer because the offer is so good. At this point, they just want to know how much it costs and how to move forward, and any objections that they may have, we may take those objections and put them in the next version of the VSL. The whole idea is for your VSL and your marketing message to address the potential objections that your customers may have prior to them getting on the phone with you. So this is the whole Billy Mays thing, right? So this is part of the offer build, but it's essential for sales. When Billy Mays from OxyClean and all the other products he used to sell got on the television, he would do what we call CPB chunks, claim, proof, and benefit, right? So when we create a VSL, we're making a claim, and then we're approving the claim, and then we're making an emotional benefit. So when so you could say everyone has the same intro with their VSLs. Like, I got to do this to make my intro great. Then you get into the actual messaging. So let's say your claim is, I can get you, we guarantee like $30,000 of revenue in the first 6 months, or let's just say that was the claim. To prove it, you now have to be able to back it up with some sort of case study or some sort of testimonial. So then we put that directly into the message, and then the benefit is the emotional benefit they're going to get from that particular claim or deliverable. So when you get into services, it's the same idea. So to break it down, like Billy Mays used to say, hey, this OxyClean can get all the stains out of your jeans. And you're like, nah, no way. It's not going to get stains out of my jeans. Then he'll put it in the washer in front of you, put the OxyClean in, blends it, takes it out. Look, the stain's gone. That's the first objection. The second objection is someone's on the other side going, nah, there's no way that's going to work for lace or silk. And he goes, it even works for lace and silk. And then he proves it on camera and gives you the emotional benefit. Now you don't have to worry about your really, precious silk sheets or your really expensive lace garments, like not being able to get cleaned, and you can get them dirty and it'll be totally fine. Throw it in the washer.
Yeah.
And then he attacks the third one where it's like, it will even do this. Like they just go above and beyond. And then that's the first portion of it. That's only half of the equation. The next part of it is when you're pitching the actual offer, because this is all part of the mechanism build. This is part of what your mechanism can do. This is talking about OxyClean. It's not talking about the product. It's talking about the solution that OxyClean is made out of. It's made out of these different kinds of chemicals that do this.
Yeah.
Then you get to the end where you're like, if you buy today, for the next 25 minutes after you're seeing this commercial, we'll throw in an extra set of OxyClean for free on us. And we'll give you this guide on how to use it. And we'll do this. And we'll take off shipping. Yeah. They make the offer irresistible. And the perks, which are the extra stuff, are almost as good as the original product. Our perk at the agency is we design all of our websites for free. We don't charge for websites whatsoever. We do all of them for free, whether it's a 10-page or 90-page, because the idea for us is long-term retention. We also focus on business development more than just PPC. So for
which
us,
is important because a lot of contractors, a ton of them, have either really, really bad websites.
Oh, they all need it. Yes. So and they know how much it costs. They know it's like a $2,000 to $3,000 build minimum. Yeah. So when they see that, they go, "Oh my God, that's going to save me money right there." That's almost as good as the package. And they're like, I can finally get that taken care of, and I don't have to spend any money on it.
Yeah, even if I'm not with this guy for more than 3 months, I get a website out of it. Yeah,
exactly. Even if that's just the 3 to 4 month campaign, as it ends, it's like at least you walk away with this, right?
Yeah,
at the end of the day, at least you have something that you're going to tangibly be able to touch.
Now you put that in your VSL?
Yeah, we do. Yeah.
Nice.
So, but that way, by the time they get on the first call, they're just like floored by the offer. Yeah. And now it's just attacking some of the individual questions we need to ask. So here's the second part of the selling, the first call. The selling part of it is a lot of times we find out, for us in our industry, we need to know how much money they're generating without directly asking them, because some guys get a little, I don't want to tell you my books. So instead you go, how many jobs are you doing per month in whatever niche that you want to expand in? So let's say it's windows and doors. Let's say, okay, new installs, not repairs, not doors, just with new installs. And that's what you told me you want to focus on. How many are you doing a month now? And what's the average ticket price on average? It tells you right away how much their monthly revenue is.
Right.
Depending on where their revenue is, you now have an idea of where to place them inside of your programs, because you should have a tiered program. Because otherwise you might not be able to downsell them or upsell them to other packages. So, and taking a look at the business development for us is like, do they have their stuff together? But if you're just doing SEO or just doing PPC or just doing Facebook ads, like you probably just need to know this number and that's it. And then now you have a KPI you can attach to it. Like, okay, well, you guys are doing the $20,000, $30,000 a month in Windows. if you spend $2,000 a month with me, we should be able to get you X amount of leads per month. If the average close rate is this, this, and this, do you think you could sell this amount of windows each month with a qualified lead? They say yes. Now you have an ROI right in front of them on call one. So what we do is we map all of that out, and we always let them ask for price. We never bring up price on our own. We always let them ask for price, and we do it at the end. We go through all the objections. We go through our sales script, and then when we're done with all the questions they could possibly have, and there's that silence, we really try to get them to ask us, now, how much is this going to cost? Because then that now
really painfully awkward silence that they break first, and it's like,
yeah,
okay, yeah. So how much is this?
That's what we want. We want them to ask, how much does this cost? And then we get into pricing. And if they're okay with the price, which there's all kinds of pricing objections that we can go through, but that's a whole nother conversation when it comes to pricing objections. The easiest one is like, if they say it's too expensive, you go, well, this is a Dan Locke method, but they go, if it's too expensive, you go, okay, well, do you want the best or do you want the cheapest? Because the best and the cheapest aren't the same thing.
Yeah.
People associate price with quality. It's that simple.
Right. Right.
But
you
a
Facebook ads guy on Fiverr.
Yeah. Facebook. Yeah. Fiverr Facebook ads guy versus an agency. So yeah. I mean, that's kind of it. That's call one. What we do in between calls 1 and 2, if we don't close on call 1, which does happen, what we'll do is we'll send them a proposal for them to review. We never send case studies, and all the students I have, like I tell them, we don't send case studies through email for 2 reasons. One, they can dissect it too much and take a look at the numbers too hard, and like, they're only getting like a 2x return on our ROAS, and then we have this other company saying they can give us 3. Like, you just don't want to send a case study. If they're asking for a case study, you haven't done your job in selling. You should just be at the proposal stage at that point. If you're even sending proposals, some campaigns, or if you're just doing Facebook ads, it's like,
I just tell people to send contracts. Really,
yeah, you can just send a contract. Yeah, just a contract, and that's it. Just right off of that. You can do that live, and you can have them sign it live with DocuSign or PandaDoc, whatever you do, and then take the credit card, and you can close right on the first call. For us, our contracts are more elaborate, so we need to do a proposal. But that's because we're doing business development. But for PPC guys and for a lot of the white label guys that have just a simple contract, is perfect. You go, all right, I'm going to send you this contract, and then you should be able to close by that point on call 1. If you need to do a second call, there's got to be a good reason. And then that's where you kind of dive into what other objections do they have where they don't feel comfortable moving forward just yet. And then you tackle those objections. Those objections they bring up, you eventually want to make sure, is this a common thing? Is this a common theme? This question that I keep getting, if it is, we want to put this in the VSL. We want to address it before they get on call 1. We want to make sure that call gets that question gets completely addressed, and that they don't bring this up on the first call. They already know the answer.
So I think a huge lesson that, I mean, there's been a ton already that we've talked about for sure, but I was trying to like catch some and like collect them in my head so I could recite them.
Yeah.
I think a really big lesson to take out of this first half of this episode is update your VSL as time goes on and you learn more about the pain points and the objections that you're facing, to add that into your VSL. Maybe that's a simple re-record, but I know a lot of people, like, they launch a VSL and they're in their niche and they're kind of learning on their feet. And so being able to update that VSL to then put in your unique selling proposition and also your, objection busters in there so that they kind of are already, prepped with that, I think can be really valuable for a lot of people who are just starting out in a brand new niche. Yeah.
And I guess to wrap up that question, because we got a couple more, is just for calls 1 and 2, like, you don't want to ever have call 1 booked out more than 4 or 5 days from when they see the VSL. And you don't want to have call 2 booked out more than 3 days before they
totally
saw.
Agree.
Yeah.
I think you should, ideally you want them to be able to book next day when they're coming in.
Yep.
And then ideally you don't want to put that second call out any more than 48 hours
Exactly.
typically,
Yeah.
because the deal gets stale, information gets forgotten, and you can just simply lose the deal. I think a lot of people have to go into a call number two or more because they're faced with, I have to show my wife, I have to show my business partner.
Yep.
I want to see the contract and understand the terms. So, let's talk on the next one. So those people that are more analytical buyers, like they like your offer, they like you, you handle their objections, but like they want to sit down with the information and make a
Yeah.
decision off of a high pressure sales call. I've seen that plenty of times, and that's totally fine. But it's just like understanding, if it does go into a call number two to call number three, like you didn't do anything wrong. There's a degree of sophistication across the buyer spectrum. There's buyer sophistication is really high with some people, and buyer sophistication is really low with some people. And the higher the buyer sophistication, typically the more that they know what they want, and they're not afraid to buy it. But you also can increase like the analysis that they go through to make sure it's definitely the right thing that they do want. Because oftentimes those more sophisticated buyers, they are less likely to like force their way into, the box that you've created, and they want that more of a custom experience in some cases. So it's just like they're just understanding that there's a wide range of buyers out there, and once you start taking calls for your agency and you start getting your reps in and learning those different, personas and those different objections that you face, you'll be able to kind of identify where they are on that spectrum and then kind of handle it as the call number
Exactly.
one ends and
Yeah.
call number two goes.
Yeah. And we mostly do 2 call closes. And most of the time for us, it's allowing them to go through the proposals because we have full proposals that are templated out. For us, it's really advantageous to use a software like Client Point that allows us to see the analytics of which page of the proposals they spent the most time on because it's hosted on the internet.
Yeah,
So
wow, that's good data.
we can see all if they spent like 5 minutes on just the PPC stuff, it's like, all right, they may have some questions about this versus they didn't look at the rest of it at all, So sometimes it might be advantageous to use a software like that. But yeah, for the most part, call two is just wrapping up any loose ends, addressing the wife, the business partner, and we say, okay, bring them on the next call. Have them talk to me as well. Bring them on. I want to talk to your wife. I want to talk to the business partner. Have them ask me all the hard questions. Like I'll go through it. Let's do that.
You definitely don't want the prospects trying to sell your product for you.
Yes, exactly.
to another gatekeeper. Like you need to get to speak directly to that gatekeeper because no one is ever going to resell your product half as good as you. So yeah, bringing them on is a huge thing. So moving a little bit back into offers, how do you know exactly what package to pitch with a client when you're on a sales call?
For us, it's just revenue driven. All right. So I know my industry very well. I know off the top of my head that if a company's making under $400,000 a year, they're really not ready for advertising with Google because it's going to cost too much. They're probably a good fit for a Google My Business campaign, maybe a light Facebook ads campaign. They probably need a lot of back-end business development. So they're probably going to go into our starter program, right? That's just based off of the revenue. That's a trend. That's just what we've seen. And then everyone between 500,000 and $1 million a year, they're kind of in our middle package. They start advertising on various platforms. They're now developing, email marketing. They're getting their systems way more fleshed out with their ERPs. And then anyone over $1 million is trying to take it to the next level. They have their shit together, their stuff together. And
that's okay. I'll put explicit on this episode. Many of them are anyways. It's all good.
They got their stuff together, and they're more or less trying to now expand, grow, create new offers, attack a new area of the market. And they might.
Is your free website in only your top package, or where is your free website?
It starts at the very bottom, all the way to the bottom. Yeah, everybody gets it. We've kind of just forced all of the clients to get it.
Yeah, I was wondering if they're in your middle package and they're not getting it, like you can't operate without without a website, right? Like a working website. Are you also, for your clients, are you sending traffic to a landing page that you're building, or are you sending traffic to their
We
website?
send all traffic to the website, and we create
Okay.
landing pages on the website that will remove the header and footer and have all of the privacy stuff at the bottom, but they'll
Nice.
completely act like landing pages. Sometimes we'll de-index those sites from Google so that they don't get SEO, and sometimes we'll leave the index on Google if it's something that we're doing for click-through rates and manipulation of that. It depends, because we're very much SEO.
Building them a funnel in their website with them.
Yeah, we're really SEO driven as a company as well. So the more traffic to the website, the better. That just helps the domain authority over the long haul. So we will build out something that you might see on like Instapage or Unbalancer or something like that. We'll just build it directly on the website and just emulate it there, because at least then the website's getting traffic. And we're able to track everything a lot easier that way and not have to pay for an additional piece of software. So
do you explain to your leads that you're building them both a website and a funnel within the website, or is that like too high level that you don't want to bog them down?
Most of the time, our audience doesn't know what a funnel is.
Yeah, see, in mine, like they know what a funnel is. They've heard of Russell Brunson. The funnel is like all they can think about. And so that word is like, they love that word, right? Funnel. Like most digital marketing agencies and people within the digital marketing space are super aware. But I guess in your industry, which is home contractors, remodelers, and whatnot, they're not so familiar with funnels. So it's really not a unique selling.
That's the market research. That's what tells us, because we'll ask our clients and they'll be, I have no idea what a funnel is. They may have heard of Russell Brunson. They may have had a ClickFunnels page. They may understand the basics of what a funnel does, but they really don't understand the process.
That's a shame. That's a shame too, because what you're giving them for free isn't even just a website. Like they're getting both a website and a funnel, which a lot of agencies charge separate fees for.
Well, here's the thing. They don't care. And this is what I was trying to get back to the offer. Like, they do not care. The only thing that my audience cares about, the one thing, is how much their phone rings. That's the only thing they measure as success.
Yeah.
I could show them, hey, you've increased your audience by 1 million on your website. I could post their entire business across the Super Bowl arenas, TVs. They would not care. They'd be like, yeah, that's cool, but it didn't make my phone ring. They just don't care.
You know what's funny about that? Like, I think there's another huge lesson in that, guys. So if you're taking notes on this episode, which you absolutely should be, there's been so much already said that's just so valuable. But another lesson in that is understanding what your clients actually care about. Like, we as marketers, like you can even tell in the way that I'm asking questions to Jay right now, like I personally see a ton of value in funnels. And so I'm like, are you telling them that? Are you telling them about their funnels? But they absolutely don't care. And Jay knows that because he's done the research on his market so well. And so, and I know that my market absolutely loves funnels. Like
they die for it.
Yeah. Like digital marketers are all about funnels. So it's just like understanding what your actual market cares about is so huge. Digital marketers also, like, they do care more about, they definitely care about results, but they also really care about products as well. Like, I deal with agency owners all the time that are hung up on their logo. Like they're hung up, up on trying to get the right font on their website. They're hung up on picking a color scheme for their branding. I recently worked with someone who was hung up on wanting to trademark their slogan. And so, I'm looking at this and I'm like, this is where this market is and what they value. And you kind of take all that in. I also, with my clients specifically, I do my best to kind of course correct that a little bit and be like, let's focus on what's going to move the needle forward.
Yeah.
What's actually going to drive revenue versus what is a shiny object, right?
I mean, honestly, that just for anyone listening to that point, like, you're completely correct. Like the logo, like the slogan, like they only really matter once you get some really good traction. Like we only just recently changed our slogan. And that was because
I don't even have a slogan.
There you go. Like, and it's like, And it doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. Like all they
Yeah.
care about is the results and the proof that you can get them there.
Yeah.
And not only the results, that how they emotionally feel after they get that result. If you're saving your prospect time and money and they feel great about it, that's emotional selling. Like you got to think about the psychology of where your prospects are. So yeah, like when people focus so much on like one minor thing, whether it's a logo or the word for word copy, don't get me wrong, copy is really, really important, and changing 4 words can make a difference, but you got to at least get it out there first and then test it. You know, like just get it
and
out
I know,
there, get started.
and I know this is like totally another side tangent, but it really does build on what we're talking about here, because I deal with this all the time, especially with agency owners. When you're launching your own funnel for your agency and you're launching your own website and you're building your branding and everything, like your gut reaction and your gut creative instinct as the agency owner is to build it for yourself, is to build what you like and what you envision. And the reality is you need to build what your clients like, and the copy needs to speak to your clients, not your personality. Like not
we have like a method for business development that we've created in conjunction. You know, I've gone through Todd Brown's program. We actually are still with Todd Brown. We've been kind of consistently getting coached with him. He's a great offer building coach, but since our time working with him, and he's coached like Russell Brunson and Traffic and Funnel, like he's up there. Todd's a legend, you know, and his copy is like bar none, some of the best in the world. But I really think that since we've worked with him, it's opened up so much of the possibilities because of understanding the psychology. Right, that's really what's changed, is understanding the prospect. So the method that we developed for our business development programs, the customer's at the very dead center. The customer and the big marketing ideas are the very first thing we focus on, and then you go out. There's no point in creating a product for something that you haven't had to resolve a problem for. So when you see someone creating a software product, for example, and you're like, why are you building this? And they're like, well, I thought this would be cool. It's like, well, does the market ask for that? Has the market demanded this? Does the market wish that this existed? Have you done the research? You know, so it's the same idea. We put the customer first, find out what exactly they feel, what they need, and what they want. And we always give them what they want first, and then tell them what they need after we've built their trust. Because if you tell them, hey, you don't need this, you really need this, good luck changing their mind. You know, when they first come to you at the very, very first interactions. Give them what they want first, and then give them what they need. So for us, giving them what they want is more phone calls. So we're going to tell them this is the best way to do it. You want more phone calls? This is the way to do it. We get them onto a small package that'll deliver just that. And then we say, okay, now to really grow, you need this. And they go, okay, well, you've been great so far. I trust you. Let's move forward with that. So we earn their trust, and then we upsell them into larger packages. That's typically the process as the profit ladder goes up. To retain them.
And that's a really big, another lesson, guys. It's a huge one. I'm really glad you shared that. And it shows the value of having tiered packages and getting people in, you know, whether it's a pricing objection or a trust objection or whatever it is, as long as you can get them under that umbrella and prove your worth, then upgrading is easy after that. Right. But if you're only, if you're only shooting for gold every time and you're getting rid of people who can't afford your top tier package, you're leaving a ton of money on the table by not offering some type of lower tier package that can, help build them up.
They have to understand why you're offering it to them, and understand that it's not just to make more money from them. You know, like that window company I gave you the example of, they wanted to hop into our $6,000 a month package. And I said, no, you guys aren't ready for that. It's going to fall flat on its face, which is the truth. They didn't have any website, they didn't have any offer, they had nothing. I was like, you guys are not ready for that. We need to do all this basic stuff first. So I downsold them, even though they had a budget for 6, I downsold them into something a lot lower just to get them started. And
because at the end of the day, you're trying to actually help your client, right?
And I'm trying to retain them for years, not for months. That's the difference, is I'm trying to retain these clients for the long haul. Some of the clients that we work with have been with us for 6 years, and they're still going. So but that's because we developed the business as we went.
Yeah, on my coaching call last night with my Done For You Agency Elite members, I was, going through this exact point that, we get really caught up as business owners on trying to sell the prospect and trying to close a deal, right? And it's not even about that. Like, you're trying to help somebody grow their business and hit their goals, right? And so when you remove that whole I'm just trying to sell, I'm just trying to close this big deal, and you start focusing on what the client actually needs, then the services that you're offering change, right? And like your offer is changed. Like in this case that you're talking about, you had to, even though they wanted to go for your top tier package, you didn't sell them that because they weren't ready for it and it wasn't going to work. Like that's what being a moral, ethical business owner and is all about, and really wanting to help them and grow with them. And like you said, they'll end up in that bigger package later on, but you have to give them what's actually going to help them, not what's going to make you the most money.
We should tackle something right here for the people listening that have closers, because closers might not want to pitch a $900 or $2,000 package. It might not be enough of an incentive for them. So what we did with our closers was we said, look, if they fall into the lower package, put them there, because you, not me, will be the one to upsell them when after the first 90, 120 days is over.
Yeah.
You at that point will have, like, we'll stay in touch obviously about this particular client, and we will eventually get to the point where they will need an upsell into another package. When they go into that package, we will allow you to do the sale so that you get the commission that you really want off of a $5,000 or $6,000 or $7,000 tiered thing, so that when they're closing $1,000, they don't feel like they wasted their time. That's something I did. No, I'm not saying that's right. I'm not saying it's wrong. That was something I did to get the best of the best out of my closers, and so that they don't have that fear of selling a lower package. Someone may disagree with me. That's just the way we do it.
I think it's a really good idea. Like,
yeah.
I definitely don't have the closer get involved with continuation contracts where they're like just staying the same. But I think when the closer is intentionally putting someone in a lower tier package because that's what's actually going to help them, I think it's a great idea to incentivize the closer.
And we'll meet before they reach out. I'll tell them, hey, this is at 90 days, it comes up, we have an automation inside, and we'll ping it and we'll say, hey, like, let's hop on and discuss this one client. And we'll tell the closer this is exactly where they're at. This is what happened. This is where their campaign's at. Maybe they're not ready for an upgrade for maybe another month or so. Maybe now they are ready. Based on the results we've gotten, they really should be pushed to another package.
Yeah.
And even if myself or someone else from my team is on the call with the closer will at least go back in and ask, how are you doing? How's everything feel? Like, I just want to check in with you, make sure that everything's going smooth. I kind of talked to the team. It sounds like you guys could really benefit from this. Like, what are your thoughts? How are your thought processes? And that way sales is completely removed from myself. But whenever we have someone on the team actually discuss something with a client, if they ask a specific question that may say, hey, do you guys do this, or do you guys have this available? We'll say, yeah, we can do that. And but we'll let the closer close them on the package. Well, so that if it was a downsell, if it was a normal sell for a mid-tier package, it's pretty standard. We don't we upgrade them ourselves to anything higher after a mid-tier. But for the low tier, just so they don't have that fear of selling the lower
fantastic
package,
idea.
that's what we do.
Jay, you're just dropping like so much gold. It's great. I'm loving this episode, and I knew it was gonna run over, but it's all good.
Sorry, yeah.
No. It's great. There's so much value in here. What is your single biggest piece of advice for an agency owner that is just starting out?
I'd say just stop worrying about all the little stuff and get started. I know it sounds kind of generic, but it really is. Like, just get started. Like, stop hesitating. So if they're gonna say, well, how do I start? Identifying exactly who you want to work with, and not taking the guys that you don't want to work with. So for me, they need to be doing over X amount of dollars. If they're not doing X amount of dollars a month, I just tell them they're not ready. I'm not going to put you in the package you can't pay for. That is going to make you like go broke, if you're just starting. So for us, our packages go pretty low. Like, our starter's $1,000 a month. But if they can't afford that, then they're really not a good fit, But if you have say it's e-com and you need a client that sells at least $5,000 a month, well, don't take the one that's $2,000 a month, because it's not who you want to work with. unless that is your target audience, where you're like, I want to work with startup e-com platforms and they're only doing like a couple $100, couple $1,000 a month in sales, and
Or
maybe
create a starter ecom jumpstart package.
exactly.
You help them launch their store.
I would just say base your programs around your ideal client profile. Create the avatar so that you know exactly who you're marketing to, and then do the market research on the emotional feelings and all of that for that target audience, so that you know how to sell to them. You're going off of their words, their emotions, their feelings, their wants, their needs, their desires. You're working off of that. And just by the simple practice of identifying exactly who you want as a client, it'll make your campaign so much easier, you know? And I turn down work all the time that doesn't fit our model. And a lot of your students that come to us for white label will say, do you work with e-com? And I say, I don't. And I'm not even going to touch it. It's not my world. I know a lot about it, but my team's not set up for that. Like, absolutely not. I'm not doing that. And even in the contractor world, like, I typically don't take landscaping clients because there's just not enough money in it. They really have a weird budget cap where it's like they typically don't make more than $300,000 a year. So for me to do work with them, it's like they never really leave the starter programs because they can't afford it unless they're like huge and crushing it. But I tend to avoid that niche because it's just there's not enough money in it, which isn't. It's more of a testament to that industry versus me. Like, I would rather work with them. I would love to work with them, but I don't want to put them out either. So it just depends on where they're at with their revenue. So
I think there's also a lesson and like a golden nugget in that too. And there is value to staying in your lane, right? Like there's definitely something to be said for knowing what you're good at, sticking to it, and not just chasing down every opportunity. And it's actually really difficult for startup agency owners to stay in your own lane.
They want to grab everything. That's
right. You're so hungry for that first deal, right? But you know, and I don't think there's anything wrong with taking on a few different projects that are different styles to try and figure out what you like if you're still trying to figure out what you like.
Yeah, I agree.
And I did that. I definitely didn't know, like, when I launched my agency, exactly what I wanted to do and who I wanted to do it, you know, who I wanted to work with and exactly the services I wanted to offer. And so I got my feet wet with a few of them to figure out, you know, what industries I liked. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but I do think that if that carries on, you know, months, years of just, you know, I have a dentist, I have an e-com store, I have a chiropractor, right? Like a master or a jack of all trades is a master of none. And so it's just like, you're to level up your ability, to level up your agency, level up your results, your offers, your sales, to just increase all of those things. You have to become an expert in your industry. You have to become an expert at who you're working for, the results that you're getting, and being able to replicate those processes. If you're in all these different niches, you're never going to hit that level of excellence. You're never going to get super great at anything because your processes are all over the place.
I can't agree with that more, man. And like, to wrap up that statement, like, I spent a lot of time learning about the new products available on the market for our contractors. Like, I go to roofing conventions, I go to plumbing conventions. Like, I just went to one in Miami. I just scheduled my ticket yesterday for the International Roofing Expo in Vegas. Like, I go to these conventions and I'm not a roofer, but I go because I have to market their products. And I aligned myself with companies like Contractor Dynamics, who is technically a competitor, but I aligned myself with them because I was like, you know, this just makes too much sense. Like, you guys have a proven process for their Facebook ads. It's like, let me work with you guys. It'll help your clients. I have business development strategies that could help your clients that are outside of what you guys teach. It's a good partnership, right? It's like friendly competition, but it's a great partnership. But the more that you know, the better. As I moved into the enterprise level sales and mechanical engineering, the stuff that's industrial level that we started to market, I had to read technical patents and specs to understand how the products work for compressors on top of HVAC units. Like, I figured out how those things work. So I went above and beyond to understand the actual products. And then I was able to have those conversations with the guy on the other end of the line where they're just like, oh, you're going to market our stuff. It's like, no, I'm going to market this compressor, and our message is going to be how it reduces energy output by 30% by doing voltage matching and doing this and this. And he's like, oh, wow, you really know your stuff, and that's the difference, is really being an expert by going above and beyond. So if you're in e-commerce, for example, since I get this a lot, you should know the ins and outs of how drop shipping works from the manufacturer side. You should know how Amazon's SEO works. You should know how the difference between doing an Etsy store versus a Shopify, and your customers may ask you. You got to know these things. You got to know the industry. You got to know when and where to place email automations or SMS notifications so that you don't abuse it and you don't do it incorrectly. You just really have to understand the industry as a whole. And
no matter what niche you're in, market research and understanding your niche is so freaking important. Like I stress this constantly on my coaching calls, because we deal with a lot of people that are just starting their agencies, and we deal with a lot of people that are or possibly going into a new niche, adding another niche, to their agency. And when you're starting brand new and you're starting a new niche, like, you cannot skip niche research. It's gonna mess up your sales calls. It's going to show in your lack of unique selling proposition. It's going to show across the board.
It goes right back to the beginning, the whole conversation of do the market research. And that's where all the golden copy is in the most boring part of this whole process is the market research.
Love it. Jay, this episode has been amazing. I figured it would be. I expected nothing less. But this has been a super valuable. I think a ton of people are going to get a lot of value out of this. I know that you offer white label services for agencies within your niche. Can you expand upon that and let people know how they can contact you if they're interested in white label services?
Yeah, they can look at our pricing and all that on it's kyberdigital.com/white-label. And that's where we have all the pricing for what we typically do, which is mostly PPC and SEO driven. But the easiest way to contact me is there's a contact form on our website, kyberdigital.com. You'll easily find a way to contact us. And then you can book a call right from there. But yeah, to go into it, when we develop a white label strategy for our partners, as some people can attest to that I'm working with now, we tend to look at it from a business development perspective first. So they'll say, hey, I got a roofer that wants Google ads. They have a $1,600 budget. And I'll say to them, that's not going to get them very far, unfortunately. Instead, if that's the max they have, maybe we should focus on Google My Business, because there's like a 10 to 20x ROI there. Or maybe we focus on Facebook ads. And we have a very unique way of doing those Facebook ads for this industry. So a lot of times we'll just take a really quick look at where the contractor is, what their goals are, and what they're actually trying to achieve. And then we try to craft the strategy around that. And we try to educate not only the white label partner, but the contractor on why we're pushing them in that direction, depending on what's happening on the sales calls and all of that. But so that's the one thing I'd say that makes us a little different, is we're very strategy focused. But yeah, it's easy enough to just go to kyberdigital.com and you'll find all the information there that you need.
Perfect. All right, Jay, thank you so much for joining me on this episode. I'll definitely have to have you back again, maybe in another season of the podcast, because I feel like there's so many things there's several topics that we didn't get to address that I'm sure we could probably.
I love being here, man. This is a lot of fun, and I really like giving back to your community. I love your students and everything that you do and stand for. I really do. So, yeah.
Yes. Well, thank you so much. Hopefully, I have no doubt after this incredible conversation, you're going to have some people hitting you up for white label for sure. But nonetheless, I'll see you in the program groups.
Yep. Thanks so much, man. Thanks for having me.